Hi, how you doing? Welcome back to Smoking Cheltenham. Hope you're good. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you won a little bit. Myself, I just had a losing week, but it was literally like a bit of change, so I can live with that. It's like my second losing week at season. Coincidentally, the second time I did the preview as well, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. But yeah, literally a bit of change, so not too bothered with that. Yeah, hopefully, you just did a little bit better and be all good. Good racing again, weren't it, though? Um, yeah, you'll may need a flask today. I can't go more than an hour, and I'm kind of hoping for 45 minutes, but we'll see. It might end up more than an hour, I don't know. So, yeah, pack a flask anyway. So, all we're doing today then, just looking back at the last sort of week's action. Um, We'll kick off then Tuesday at Punchestown, probably the most sort of significant race midweek regards Cheltenham. The going there, we're yielding on the chase course and on the hurdles course, good to yielding. 2 miles 7.5 beginners. Dancing City beat Shannon Royal a length and a half in Mossy Fen Park. Another 2 3/4 lengths back in third. Yeah, Mossy Fen Park led here. Shannon Royal sat second, Dancing City third, and Olympic Man fourth. Between the second and third, Dancing City took second. Mossy Fen Park, yeah, he raced a few clear. It looked like Darragh were trying to make it a test and kind of make his fitness edge tell over the favourite. However, Mossy Fen Park was slow at the third. On the run to the seventh, he started to lose concentration a bit. He didn't look entirely happy really in front. So Darragh kind of slowed it down a bit, looking for some company. Paul obliged with Dancing City and joined him there. Dancing City was in the lead 6 out, where Mossy Fen Park made a mistake. 4 out, Olympic Man made a shocking mistake, didn't he? Yeah, Danny Mullins, he did a remarkable job of staying on top there. Turning in with 2 to jump, Dancing City was a couple up and going much the best. Mossy Fen Park was still in second, but he was scruffy at that second last. Dancing City, he was soon 4 clear after the last, but he did look to tower a little on the run in, and Shannon Royal stayed on well to close him down close home without ever really looking like, getting to him or anything. Yeah, Dancing City, there was nothing flash about this, but that's fine for a 3 mile chase. So he jumped soundly in the main, and he impressed me. He did. Bearing in mind he got beat first time up last year, I think it takes a bit of getting fit, this horse. I think he'll improve tons for this. He will. He's going to be a big player in that Browns, isn't he? He's more or less favourite, I think, taking Ballyburn out of it. And deservedly so, I'd say. Just the thing that bothers me with this horse, he came third in that Albert Bartlett, didn't he? And that came between like 3 Grade 1 wins, didn't it? He took out Grade 1 at the DRF, then the Albert Bartlett, then Grade 1s at Aintree and Punchestown. Why didn't he win the Albert Bartlett? That's the question. I don't know. Possibly they should have ridden him more forward there, but I'm not sure if entirely by that. I don't know. I don't know, and I've kind of got a feeling he's going to be one I'll probably end up taking on. If you're book building or anything like that, you need this horse on your side, because there's a fair chance he could go in there as favourite with Paul up, And and he's going to have his chance. He looks solid. It's the only sort of race he's going to go for. Just that Albert Bartlett run bothers me a little, Yeah, I can't quite explain that away. It just seems a little bit below the rest of his form. So that would worry me personally anyway, Shannon Royale, yeah, he's an handicapper, isn't he? But he were 140 over hurdles. This won't help his mark over fences. So he's, I don't know if he's going to have much to play with in handicaps. Mossy Fen Parker really liked his debut. Didn't like this. It'd be better with a lead, but I wouldn't be in a rush to be backing him anytime soon. Olympic Man, he's got an engine, hasn't he? That he's jumping. He made a bad mistake here. I backed him once over hurdles last year at the end of one of those end of season festivals, and he did the same there. Looked all over the winner. He was well backed. I think it was the last, last or second last, can't remember now, but it cost him then, and he was the same over hurdles, and he's done this year. If he can iron that jumping out, he's got a fair engine, but I'd like to see him iron it out before I got involved with him. He might be just one of those horses that always does something daft. So yeah, that was that one. The 2 mile 3 maiden hurdle. James's Gate beat 40 coats here, 4.5 lengths. I love his profile on paper for like the Coral Cup. He's a lightly raced 7-year-old. He ran well to be third in the Cheltenham bumper behind Facile Vega, and he looked that day for all the world like 2.5 would improve him. I think I backed him after that run for the Ballymore the year after, but he's had his problems, hasn't he? I used to be with Willie. He only needs 2 more runs to qualify for his mark. He's with these connections into the same connections that hit the bar. Year before last and year before that they hit the bar here. Last year they had Built by Ballymore, big gamble on the day, disappointed. Yeah, I like him, but he's a lovely looking horse, but he's clearly hard to keep sound, isn't he? And his hurdling leaves a bit to be desired. You'd like to see him improve that a bit. But yeah, he's noted for that race anyway. We'll see how his season goes from here. 40 coats, he looked kind of slow here. I kind of liked his debut. Didn't like this quite so much. He always looked a little outpaced. He's going to be a 3-miler, I think. McClory in third, I think he were. This is JP, Emmett Mullins. He looks like an handicap project to me, probably up to 3 mile in the spring. He's one to note, I think. Elsewhere on the card, you ought to know, yeah, he was impressive in the 2 mile maiden. Port Gillane looked kind of classy out in front, but went wrong early, didn't he? So he didn't have much to beat in the end. But he did this well. He likes this ground. I don't think he goes so well on the sort of winter ground. Kitzbühel. This was an impressive debut for Willie. He's beat a 146 rated Colonel Mustard here. Be 3 3/4 lengths. I mean, Colonel Mustard is one of them horses, he could come second to like a grade 1 horse and second to like an handicapper. I think he's that sort of horse. It looks like it, doesn't it? So if it's quite as good as it looked on paper, I don't know. But it was still good, weren't it? I mean, you know, he looks a graded horse, doesn't he? He's stay further than this, and he looks an exciting prospect going forward. He does. He's got some conveyor belt. He's anti-Willie. He just keeps churning him out. It's like, what's this one? You know. Right then, so that with the midweek stuff. We'll get to weekend stuff. And what have we got to? 10 minutes today. We are. So Cheltenham Friday. We were good to soft, good in places. All the cross country, it was soft, good to soft in places. Right, oh yeah, 12:10, that's nice, sorry about that. Don't know what happened there, it sort of travelled into the race nice and just didn't pick up from there. Maybe softer ground, maybe there was something amiss, I don't know. Wingmen, yeah. He weren't quite as wild as I thought he might be here, but he was still kind of underwhelming, weren't he? Country Mile won it well. Hard to know what the form's worth though, so I won't be going overboard. You know, you'd like to see him do it again in a better race, really. Well, one that didn't fall apart like this one did. 2.5 mile novice chase, Django Bay. I'll redeem myself here a bit anyway, didn't we? This was good, Django Bay. He beat Springwell Bay 6.5 here. With Caldwell Potter another 6.5 lengths back in third. They set off with Caldwell Potter in the lead. Springwell Bay second and Django Bay sat third. Django Bay flew the second, and that kind of carried him into second place. A quick leap at the fifth took him into like a brief share of the lead, you know, before Caldwell Potter regained a narrow advantage. He was fast again at the 8th Django Bay, and the same sort of thing happened. Sort of took him into share of the lead before Caldwell Potter went on slightly again. I mean, you know, there was nothing wrong with Caldwell Potter's jumping at all. You know, he was jumping well, really well. Just Django Bay were exceptional, I thought, you know. They both travelled well to 3 out down the hill. Caldwell Potter a length or so in the lead, with Springwell Bay just sat behind in a close third. Caldwell Potter started to come under pressure up the hill, and Django Bay jumped to the front 2 out. He took the last a length or so up where Caldwell Potter blundered, and he quickened smartly away from there up the hill and soon put distance between himself and Springwell Bay, who himself stayed on quite nicely up the hill. Right. The time were very good here. This compared well. It looked a good time. His jumping with top drawer, I thought. Yeah, I thought this was a fantastic fencing debut. You know, he's a grade 1 winning hurdler. Yeah, this were good at Cheltenham against like more experienced rivals. He looks exciting, he does. We thought he might, and he does. But Cheltenham, I don't know, you know. You know, they've dropped one here, haven't they, getting rid of this Turners. This Turners would have been a cracking race this year. It really would have. And, you know, what have they done? These people, I don't know. I can't quite see him in an Arkle, and I don't really think of Browns either. You know, we know he likes Aintree. He won his grade 1 there. I know a little fortunate, but, you know, he won his grade 1 there, and he ran a hell of a race in that handicap, didn't he, at the end of the season, you know. Yeah, I could see him. I think he'd be something round Aintree, this horse, the way he jumps as well. And maybe that's where his big target will be. Say they've shot themselves in the foot here with getting rid of this Turners. They're going to miss some good horses, you know. Well, we're going to miss some good horses because of them, you know. Sorry, but it winds me up. But yeah, Aintree, great, weren't it? Aintree last year I thought were brilliant, to be honest. I thought it was the best Aintree we'd had, you know. barring the national thing, we'll leave that to one side, what they've done with that. But yeah, I thought that were some Aintree last year, and they're going to have some good races this year, they are. Anyway, back to this race. Yeah, we could ramble a bit today, I suppose. The Springwell Bay, yeah, I thought he faced a stiff task trying to concede £8 to the winner here. He ran well, and he looks destined for that 2.5 mile novice handicap chase. I think he's sure to run well there. Possibly may bump into 1 or 2, but he looks a nice sort of play spot horse for that race, I'd say, you know. I think he's going to be bang there. Caldwell Potter, I'm not in love with this horse, I'm sorry, I'm not, but, you know, I'll just tell you what I think. You may rate him. He did jump and travel great here, though, he did, until they got to the bottom of the hill. Was it the trip? It looked like the trip. Was it the track? Did he not come up the hill? I don't know, but there'd be something there niggling me. Even dropped to 2 mile at Cheltenham with that hill. I have this thing in my head. I mentioned it with Bright Days Head, didn't I? And it comes from Marty Potter. It's all the same family, isn't it? And it might be me just being daft, but, you know, look at Brighter Days Ahead, and I know the race went wrong for her, but the run before, I know, with 2.5, and the run after at Aintree 2.5, but she looked awesome. And then she comes out this year and does State Man at 2. That run, I just wonder. And this fella as well, you know, because you know, Marty Potter, well, hell of an horse, but he just weren't the same at Cheltenham. But anyhow, he looks to me, I think his best chance of winning like a big pot would again be at Aintree this year. You know, if he's going to win a high profile race, I think it'll come at Aintree. And yeah, I mean, is it the Maghull Novice Chase 2 mile or even a 2.5? Because I'm not sure if it weren't the hill or the staying, but yeah, either or, he could look a big contender there, you know. Right, King Turgeon took out the Sonic the Hedgehog race. Yeah, he looks a progressive stayer. He looks quite slow, but he sees it out well. Looks to have a nice attitude. He's progressing well. Chianti Classico finished lame here, didn't he? Don't look good for him. I think we're not going to be seeing him this season anyway. Shame. Stumptown, yeah. Keith Donoghue, he did a brilliant job here, didn't he? And trying to win by as little distance as possible. It was good this. I don't think that winning distance is fooling anyone, though. If he was English, he might have got away with this and got up £5 or something. But he's not English, is he? So you could be looking at double digits here. Even so, though, I think he's sure to be a factor at Cheltenham. He's loving life, isn't he? He is. Yeah, he's got to be a big contender for that, you know, the cross country. Yeah, it's as cosy a length win as you'll ever see, that, I'd say. Cook, yielding, good to yielding in places on the chase course. Yeah, the much anticipated 2 mile Mallow Maiden hurdle. Calistoya beat Dream Diamond 3.5 here. The pair pulled well clear. Sat Andy in third early. Had a good look at the first. We're generally a little bit novice early on. However, his jumping warmed up through the race, and he was good 4 out, and that took him into second. He was fine, sort of 3 out, 2 out. He came clear we Dream Diamond, Travelling Much the Better, he was really good at the last, and he was just kind of pushed out on the running for a comfortable success. Yeah, it's sort of smooth debut this, you know. We'll learn much more about him up in grade. Kill Game were disappointing, weren't they? This horse, you know. After watching this, I've thought about this horse every day. I know I went on plenty about him, didn't I, last week? But this Cade Doherty, I thought about him every day this week. It's the first time I've ever sat here and regretted not putting a horse up. You know, when I sat down to chat to you, I'd still not decided, and even talking to you, I weren't sure what we were going to do, and we didn't, did we? And I wish we did. And it's the first time I've ever done that. They do say, don't they? I think they say, so it's something like, you know, you regret more the things you don't do rather than the things you do, something like that. I don't know. I did give him a good mention though, and I hope a few of you maybe took the sort of 50s and 33s. He's into 20s now. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about this horse because it's a similar profile to this Calistoya in same connections. And even though there's nothing wrong with this Calistoya, I mean, we just don't know yet, do we? Up in grade, yeah, you know, he could go out and take out a grade 1 next time. We don't know. But I guess he just didn't. This Cade Doherty I just like more, you know. And I might be wrong, we've only briefly seen him, haven't we? But into 20s now. Do you know, the up in the ante-show, you may watch that, I don't know. They gave him a very good mention on there, and Johnny Dineen tipped him up, even, you know, although kind of tipped him up anyway. I was watching that and I was thinking, just shut up about this horse. I couldn't believe it. I was like, no, no. And I think that's why it's probably ended up the price it is now. You know, easily shows. I mean, the other fella there, you know, he's got a pretty poor record, hasn't he, with the tipping, I'd say. You know, I just shake my head at some of his bets, but I watch it, to be honest, I watch it just because I find that Johnny Dineen quite entertaining, you know. He seems a pretty straight fella, like, and he's, yeah, I like that honesty, you know. I just kind of watch it for the entertainment value, and I like listening to him, you know. Oh, I wish they hadn't start talking about that horse though. Jesus. And the jump 4, you'd think that'd go under the radar a bit. Just while we're on this, you know, because I'm sure you probably maybe watch a few other shows, like, not just me, like, you know. And I watch some, and for some reason this weekend, you know, sort of Thursday, Friday, I watched a few more than I normally do. Just wondering about the sort of weekend previews and stuff. Wow. Right. You've got like a lot of these shows are like bookmaker sponsored, aren't they? And when they're looking at the weekend's racing, the bookmaker sponsored shows, and they're tipping up in like bookmaker sponsored handicaps, almost exclusively handicaps, you know. And I know there were quite a few this weekend, weren't they? But still, you know, to me, being a little cynical maybe, that's just, they seem to me to be like just trying to generate more turnover in like the handicaps in the races that they know are going to be more profitable for them. That's how I see it, you know. They'll have like 2 or 3 or 4 guys sat there all giving you different tips for the same races, like, you know, some of them's going to eat some, aren't they? But Jesus, if you know, if, yeah, there'll be some people there, they'll be watching that, and maybe they'll have a bet in a race that they wouldn't have had a bet in otherwise, you know. They're not daft, are they? And Jesus, if you're, I mean, everybody bets different, don't they? Right, this is it. We're on a ramble, aren't we? Here? Everyone bets different, and that's fine. You know, you find what works for you. Um, Personally, the way I've kind of do it is I'll I'll get the racing postcards up for the day after and maybe the 2 day after the final decks. All I do is I only look anything that's like a class 3 handicap or less. I don't even look at. I don't look at the race. That's how I kind of narrow it down a bit. So I'm just looking at like maidens, novices, and like the high class handicaps and the graded races. Like, but yeah, class 3 handicaps and below. Don't look at it. I do have gone through all the Irish ones, even the handicaps. Like, but generally I won't bet in them. And that's how I do it. So you know, we like the Cheltenham stuff, don't we? And we're basically concentrating on the horses we think could develop into Cheltenham horses. Like, so you know, I've got a relatively small pool of horses I'm sort of focusing on, which I think is helpful. However you sort of do it, if you try and spread it to yourself too thinly, I'd say you'd find it more difficult. I mean, I do that because I like them races as well. Like, that's the racing I like watching best, and there's a few other reasons for it. I mean, but taking the specialising thing, you could think, right, and I'm sure there's fellas out there that do this. I'm just going to specialise on Southwell, the all-weather, and if you spent 2 years just focused solely on Southwell, you know, learning everything, watching all the races, you're going to have some edge there, you know, and that's what it's about, isn't it, really? When we're getting into the sort of gambling side of it, you want an edge somehow. Yeah, and by specialising like that, you're going to give yourself a big edge, you know. I just, personally, I like the high-end jumps racing. Jumps because of flat. I have some little theories about it. I think basically the jumps racing, I think on the flat you're dealing with finer margins, aren't you? Things happen quick, and you know, jockeys have to make split-second decisions. I mean, they do on the jumps as well, but they've got a bit more time generally. On the flat, you know, it's more bunched up, and you know, if they go left, right, take a pull, or go, you know, them split-second decisions, yeah, there's more of them on the flat, I think, you know, and you can lose a race quickly on the flat. You've got the draw to contend with, haven't you? You know, there can be a big bias in the draw, and the margins are finer. It's like, you know, on the jumps, if you could run a fine race on the flat, or on the jumps, and get beat 5 lengths. You get beat 5 lengths on the flat, and you might be 9 for 10 flat. You know, it's like smaller margins as well between, like, you know, victory and defeat, if you like, generally. So there's a few reasons there. So, but it's also just because I enjoy it more as well. It's what I love, you know, the sort of jumps racing. But you know, there's some sort of logic in it as well. And then the higher end stuff is, you know, there's a few reasons for that as well. Generally, you know, the better the horse, the more consistent it will be. You know, the lower down you get, I think it all becomes more inconsistent. Like, you know, just because of the nature of the horses, like, you know, they're not as good. And then we got Betfair, haven't we now? Now that's made a big difference too. I mean, it has. If I owned an horse, right, and you're running in some race at Plumpton, you know, for like 3.5 grand or whatever, and my horse is like a 4-7 shot, I can make more money out of laying that horse to get beat than winning. Right? So don't tell me this doesn't happen, because it does. You know, where there's money, there's corruption, isn't there? Fellas have got to be tempted with that, you know. So it's just like, you know, you get on, you know, have a word with train. It's like, make sure you don't win today, and it's a lot easier to get a horse beat than it is to get a horse to win, isn't it? You know. So you're dealing with that as well at the lower end of stuff. You know, the incentive's not necessarily there to win as well. Like, you know, that's why Cheltenham's best, because, you know, you get to Cheltenham, everybody's trying. There's no non-tries there, is there? When you get to Cheltenham, everybody wants to win. And, you know, from a punting point of view, that makes things a lot easier. It does. So, yeah, there's a few reasons there, I guess, why I kind of focus on what I focus on. But I'm going off on some tangent here, aren't I? Like, you know, yeah, I just thought, you know, Tom Seagal's sake, right? I mean, all these fellas, they're not like putting you away. They're telling you what they think's going to win the race. You know, they're being honest about that. You know, I'm not suggesting they're trying to put you away. And Seagal is great. You know, these handicaps, he'd probably blind me, to be honest. On these, you know, he's does really well with the handicaps and all that. He does. But have you ever heard him say, "Look, yeah, this has got a decent chance. This has got a decent chance." But there's a maiden hurdle at Tremor tomorrow. There's an horse here. He's like 7-2, 5-1. I think he should be a 4-7 shot. You know, it's a lump job. He's not. You know, and he must bet in some of those races. He must do. So, you know, it's just the races really. Some of these sort of bookmaker sponsored shows are focusing on. I just think, you know, you get fellas there watching, and if you're betting in like 7 or 8 of these handicaps on a Saturday, there's a fair chance there you might just get wiped out completely. I mean, my own sort of tip in there, it weren't brilliant, but you know, we got like 3 winners out of maybe 7 or 8 selections, didn't we? So, you know, the prices weren't great, but at least, you know, you're not getting wiped out there, are you? You know, you may just lose a little or just win a little, depending how you played. But yeah, you know, I don't like going into today thinking I could get wiped out, and by betting sort of 7 or 8 races like that, you know, you're putting yourself at quite a risk there, I'd suggest. That's some rambling, sorry. Um, Kay Doherty. God, I like this horse, right? He looks a little Duvan-esque to me. I love Duvan. I really love Duvan. He's one of my favourite horses ever, you know. But this fella just reminds me just a little of him. Like, you know, he don't really, you know. I'm not saying he's as good as Duvan or anything like that. Just on looks, he's like a big, tall, dark thing, isn't he, with this sort of raking stride. Just oozes class. All the novices we've seen this season, he was the one that impressed me the most. And I know we didn't get to see the full race, but yeah, sometimes, you know, you have to go with what you think, don't you? And sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're wrong. I really like this horse. I don't know why I'm talking about him, because I can't put him up now at 20s, really. We're just going to have to hang fire a bit, but we may end up backing him at some point. Anyway, yeah, we're rambling today, aren't we? Not sure if I've lost my place here. Spindle Brief, is that who we should be talking about next? Yeah, it is, to be fair. Yeah, 2 mile 5, beginners, mares, Spindle Brief beat Majestic Force half a length. And they were 13 length clear at Irisembry in 3rd. coffee all over the place now. Right, Majestic Force led and Spindle Brief followed in second. I'd say from about 7 out, Paul were just having to niggle away on Spindle Brief to keep tabs on Majestic Force. You were like 2 or 3 behind. Turning for home with 3 to jump, Paul brought Spindle Brief to the near side. On the approach to 2 out, Majestic Force had kicked for home and had 4 lengths or so on Spindle Brief, who wasn't great there and a little to her right. Approaching the last, Paul still hadn't gone for everything, and although his urgents had got a bit more urgency about him, it looked like he was trying to just coax her into closing that gap. But I kind of thought, geez, she's got a bit too much to do here, However, she really attacked the last. Paul let her go at it and go to her right a little. She were to her right, but she took it well. It were a good leap and she landed running. And Paul kind of used that momentum. He finally gave her a few taps and she responded. She stayed on relentlessly to get on top close home. I thought this were brilliant from Paul. He gave her a very considerate introduction here. He kept her just in a comfort zone, never kind of stressing her, but still getting the job done in the end. He's on fire. He is. Paul's on fire at the minute. He's riding at an elevated level. He's something else. He's never seen him ride better than he's riding right now. He's really, really flying. He could be in for a sort of special season this year, maybe. So back to the horse, Spindle Brief. I think the kindness Paul showed her here can only be a positive thing for her. She'll have learnt plenty and she should come on loads for this. I really like this horse, I do. She went from winning a maiden hurdle sort of late January last year straight into Grade 1 at Fairyhouse, where she was second of 17, beaten just over 2 lengths by Jade de Grugy. I don't think Jade de Grugy, mentioned before, I don't think she were best that day. She'd been turned out quickly from Cheltenham. But that was still a huge run, I thought, on just a second outing, over timber. I put a line through her last run. A lot went wrong there. She got hampered early, made a bad mistake, First 2 starts won heavy, so she'll go on the winter stuff and she may well be better for it. I liked how she stayed onto the line here. That mare's chase at Cheltenham, it takes a bit of gain. I think you've got to stay nearly 3 mile for that, nearly. And I like her from that respect. All the runs have come right-handed up to now, and she did go to the right, didn't she, over the last 2 here. So I'd say one question is we'd like to see her go left-handed and do it. I think she could improve plenty on this, and she could become a big contender for that Cheltenham, for the mares race. We have seen a few, haven't we, with potential coming through for this. Birdie or Bust looks interesting. She has a stamina to prove as yet, as does Only by Night. I'd be a little more confident about her staying. But like I say, you don't want to just stay 2.5. You need to get 2.5 and some, I think, in that race. That's what did Dino Blue last year. Now the ground came up bad, but she was the best horse in the race. She just had the stamina dragged out over that trip. And Only by Night's probably got a little question mark with her travelling. She was disappointing at Lingfield. It's quite hard to know because her form just sort of went down there. She's got to kind of hold the form as well. But yeah, I do like Spindle Brief. Majestic Force deserves. Oh, just looking at the time, I did ramble a bit then, didn't I? Yeah, at least you got your flask. Yeah, she deserves plenty of credit here as well. She's very lightly raced also. Point to point winner, contested the mare's novice on only a second start, and she ran well enough there to be 5th or 8th, beaten 14 length by Golden Ace. So this was just her 3rd start under rules. She jumped and travelled great here. She's promising going forward too. I think these are 2 good mares, you know. Yeah, then on to Saturday. Right, Saturday, Cheltenham, good to soft we want. There were loads of handicaps here, weren't they? So I'll just briefly go through these. Haiti colours I thought were great in that 3 mile 1.5 novice chase. She won by best part of 3 lengths. Took 4 of his last 5 races out, rapidly improving, took this off 130. This Irish, it'll be getting some hike here, but it's British, so maybe the handicapper, you might be looking at 6, 7, 6 or 7 maybe. Travels, jumps, stays. Looks ideal to me for that 3 mile 6 handicap, that new one. If Gordon or Gavin don't take that out, I think maybe this horse can. I think it'll be a big contender there. This were a good time as well. This compared well. Yeah, impressive, I thought. Transmission, could have ran into something a bit here. It looks interesting for the Kim Muir one with Patrick on last time. He's on a mission for that race, isn't he? Remind me closer to time, could be a nice little related bet there, a little each way double or something. Peaky Boy ran a decent race. It was always short in the market here, it were too short in this. But it was still a bit disappointing, weren't it? If you're thinking Browns for him, I'd be forgetting that, Looks a nice horse, but he's no Browns horse, is he, Yeah, good race that it were. Madara ran well, didn't he? For my dad, I had a little bit on, 11 to 2 into 11 to 4, got battered, just touched off, and he was just touched off by Gemirande, who jumped and travelled great. Took this off 136, got a nice prominent style for this sort of race around Cheltenham. Looks to be improving for Venetia. Looks a big plate contender, I'd say. These 2 came fairly clear. I think these were 2 well handicapped horses. And again, the English handicap will give these horses a chance. Jemirande's may go up. I'd say probably might put Madara up maybe 3. And Gemirande maybe 7, yeah, which would be fine, yeah. Woodoo, unbeaten, Gordon Elliott 10 to 1. That's one of them, isn't it? We were looking after thinking, what we're doing here, like, well, I weren't on this. Took this off 130, and I thought one with plenty in hand. We don't know how good she is, do we? Just keeps winning. I mean, could be a Coral Cup horse, could even make up into Mare's Hurdle horse. But yeah, good here. Joyeuse is well handicapped, I think, off 119. Didn't have a great passage through. He'll be winning races with that horse. Probably good luck ever trying to get a price on it, but yeah, should be winning races. And I'd say all in all, we saw some very strong handicap performances at this meeting, and we may well have seen 1 or 2 festival handicap winners, yeah, worth noting these races for the handicaps, definitely. Fairy House, good to yielding in places on the chase course, good to yielding in places on the hurdles course. 2 mile beginners, Masborough, beat Tullyhill 6.5, Asian Master another half length back in third. I was watching this with a mate and I said to him, before the first, it's all over, you know. You know he stays strong, this horse, and soon as he were like gifted an easy lead, he were just over, you know, granted a decent round of jumping. He were a little novice at a couple early on, put in a fantastic leap 4 out. That was some jump, weren't it? The quick and turning in. Paul moved up sides 2 out, looking a threat on Tullyhill. That threat were brief though, weren't it? You know, what Masborough did from the back of the second last looked a bit special to me. He powered home from there, didn't he? You know, jumped the last well and he really opened up on the running. Yeah, I thought this were impressive. Slashed for the Arkle on the back of this. You know, we love this horse. You know, tend to follow. We backed him for the triumph last year. Tend to follow is going remarkably well, you know. Might have to recap that sometime. You'd be well up there. Yeah, I feel more likely he'll go to the Arkle, but I'm still not convinced, to be honest. You know, if you remember, I said before, I thought that they might target that Grade 1 Willow Warm Gold Cup at Fairy House and kind of give Cheltenham a swerve this year. I still think that's a possibility, I do. Although, like I said, I'd be a little more inclined to think he might go Arkle now. One thing I would say is, you know, if Willie has a JP horse, don't go playing the Willie Mullins bingo, because he doesn't really get a say. You know, look at it from JP's point of view with these horses. Now, you know, he's got In the Pocket and a Berrico Lord at the moment as Arkle possibilities. Berrico Lord, I'm not sure, but, you know, he could get there. In the Pocket, probably the most impressive novice performance we've seen over 2 mile this season. We backed him last year, didn't we, at 20s each way, and he didn't get there. And I'd say that's your main worry with him, is he going to get there, like, you know. But if he does, he's going to have his chance, isn't he? A big chance. And then he's got Masborough here, you know. He could go there mob-handed, he could, because you could have like Nico on a Berrico Lord, Rachel on In the Pocket, and Mark here on Masborough. So that could happen, but I'm just not sure with the Arkle. He's a big horse, isn't he? I've just got it in my head, you know, if they got that mad frenetic pace in the Arkle, is he going to get took out of his sort of rhythm a little, possibly. So we'll see. As far as the Arkle goes, we're waiting on Sergino here. We are. If he goes over fences, that's where we're going for the Arkle. I mean, think of it like this. I think in the Arkle, I think you've got Sergino and Ballyburn that could kind of place in a champion hurdle. As much as we love Masborough, you know, I couldn't see him placing in a champion hurdle. I like Sergino, but we don't know if he goes chasing yet. But if he does, that's our Arkle horse. Okay. The bumper on the card, Future Prospect took. Oh, yeah, I should give the second and third a mention. From that Supreme, we're not sure about that. Amateur ridden in either Asian Master, he could be interesting up in trip, and maybe Tullyhill as well. Not sure if they're going to make like top grade 1 horses, to be honest, but you know, they're no mugs, are they? You know, they're decent animals, and you know, one or both could improve dramatically up in trip. Maybe Asian Master more. You'd like to see, you know, Paul on him or something, wouldn't he? But yeah. The bumper future prospect, yeah, put up Swing Davis here, says I said, didn't we don't know quite what we're running into here with these Mullins horses, and she ran into one here, she did. I thought she ran fine, to be honest. She just paid the price for trying to, go with the winner here, and, that cost her second late on. I don't think she's an amazing horse or anything, Swing Davis, but she'd be capable of winning a normal bumper, but this weren't a normal bumper, I don't think. This future prospect led at a good clip, quickened really smartly in the last 2 furlongs, seriously impressive. There were one little bit in the race where she looked a bit wild on a bend. She probably could do with settling a little, in terms of like going to Cheltenham. I think she goes to the Mares DRF race next, then she'll take some whacking in that race. Yeah, I liked her, she looked good. Yeah, and also we'll mention the bumper at Sunday at Navan. Calypso Chance took that out. He himself looked very impressive, didn't he? He did, he looked good here. Maybe, possibly, probably Gordon's bumper horse. We've gone round the houses trying to figure this out, haven't we? And probably missed it. We'll just trust my dad with this bumper. We'll get to a week before. I'll ask my dad what's going to win bumper, Dad, and I'll let you know. And we don't have to put much more thought into it than that. Christmas, we got Leopardstown, haven't we? I think there's 4 bumpers there. Is it 4-day meeting? The bumper closes each meeting out, and Willie normally takes 3 or 4 of them bumpers, and we tend to see some good ones there. I mean, I think we saw his first good one on Saturday, but how many more has he got there? I don't know. Right, performance of the week then. I give this Django Bay. I did. I thought this was a brilliant fencing debut in a strong looking race. Grade 1 winner over hurdles. He's exciting, he is. Maybe more for Aintree than Cheltenham this year. He could be something round Aintree, Number 2, I gave to Masborough. I did. Yeah, he were gifted the race, he were. But just look at him, just look at this horse. He's a magnificent looking beast. And I thought what he did from the back of the second last looked a bit special, Third one, yeah, this were tricky, but I gave it to Kit Spuel. He looks an exciting prospect going forward. In terms of Cheltenham, I don't know, probably not. But, this were a big run on his stable debut, weren't it? And he looks a graded horse anyway, like, another one off this conveyor belt, this Clough Sutton conveyor belt. Just, they keep coming off them, don't they? Right then, the next week or so, we've got to do a Christmas preview, haven't we? I'm not sure quite when everything's going to fall, but yeah, sometime in the next week or so, we'll do a Christmas preview, and there may be another video, or even 2, I don't know. We'll just wing it and see what happens. In terms of this week, I haven't looked too much, to be honest, what's coming up. I know the long walk hurdles on Saturday, and I like the war part there, but I think I won't know about the ground. Out of them, sort of, we mentioned 3 horses, didn't we, that were sort of coming through as like stayers possibilities that could progress into stayers hurdle horse, and he'd be pretty much at the top of them 3, I think. But we don't know about him on winter ground, and that would be my only query with him. JP's bought him, hasn't he? It's all green and gold. All green and gold and Willie Mullins, and And that's that then. So yeah, just under an hour in the end, even despite my big ramble there. So thanks for watching then. I do appreciate your time, and I'll see you again soon. All right, bye.